There's this moment in dating where everything feels uncertain. You start second, guessing. You wonder, is he pulling away? Is he losing interest? Am I just a backup option? And it's hard because space can feel like rejection. But here's the truth most people miss. A man who's truly waiting for you knows how to give space without disappearing. There's a huge difference between someone who walks away and someone who steps back with intention. See, most people either smother or vanish. They think it's either all in or all out. But a man who's emotionally grounded, who has real intention behind his actions, won't need to chase you 24/7 just to feel connected. And he won't go cold the minute things slow down. He creates space not to test you, not to punish you, not to trigger your insecurities, but because he understands that growth happens in space, clarity happens in space, and if he's the kind of man who's waiting for you, he knows that you might need time. Time to heal, time to focus, time to trust yourself again. He doesn't force a decision. He doesn't guilt you into choosing him faster. He simply holds his position with quiet strength. His presence is still there. You can feel it, even when he's not filling your phone with messages or pushing for plans every weekend. That's how you know he's not gone. He's just giving you the room you didn't even know you needed. And here's what's crazy. Most people can't handle that. Most people, when they're not getting constant reassurance, spiral. They start trying to force momentum, texting more, asking loaded questions, trying to define the relationship when the connection is still forming. But a man who's waiting for you doesn't need to be constantly reassured. He's not playing a game of win or lose. He's not trying to beat a clock. He's pacing himself with someone he respects. That kind of man knows the difference between pressure and presence. He doesn't pressure you to choose him. He just makes it clear he's there. His energy doesn't come with strings. He might not be blowing up your phone, but when you reach out, he's warm. When you make time, he shows up fully. He holds his ground not because he's indifferent, but because he's stable. He's emotionally mature enough to say, I'm not here to take over your life. I'm here when you're ready. And that right there, that's not passivity. That's strength. That's patience. That's someone who's secure enough in his own worth to let things unfold without force. Because deep down, he's not waiting for you to be perfect. He's not waiting for the green light to pounce. He's simply aware that connection happens at your pace as much as his. And he respects that. Think about how rare that is. How rare it is to meet someone who can stand in that space of not knowing, who doesn't demand clarity before it's time, who doesn't walk away just because things aren't easy right now. He's not pushing for a version of you that's more ready, more certain, more available. He's choosing to wait for you, as you are. That kind of man doesn't just have patience. He has intention, and you'll feel it in the subtle things. He doesn't ghost when you're distant. He doesn't take it personally when you're overwhelmed. He doesn't make your need for independence a threat to his ego. In fact, the space you think might push him away, it actually shows him something. It shows him that you have your own life, your own path, your own values. And if he's the right kind of man, that draws him in. Because men who know their value don't run from strong women. They make space for them, quietly, confidently, without pressure, without panic, without needing you to choose them before you're ready. They just wait, with presence, not absence. With patience, not passivity, with depth, not demand. Let's be honest, titles are comforting. Labels make us feel secure. They give us something to point to when we're trying to explain our situation to ourselves or other people. He's my boyfriend. We're exclusive. We're seeing each other. There's something about having a name for it that makes everything feel more real, more stable. But here's the twist. Real security doesn't come from a label. It comes from consistency, and a man who's truly waiting for you, who's serious about you, doesn't need a title to treat you with care, with priority, with respect. He shows up in ways that speak louder than words long before anything is official. Because anyone can slap a title on a relationship and still be flaky, still be hot and cold, still be emotionally unavailable, but a man who's actually grounded, who's actually ready, he builds something before he asks for it to be named. His consistency isn't based on obligation. It's based on who he is. You see it in the patterns. He calls when he says he will. He checks in because he wants to, not because he has to. He doesn't disappear for days and then pop back in with excuses. And when life gets busy, he communicates, not perfectly, not always romantically, but honestly. You're never guessing where you stand with him, even if you haven't had the talk. And here's the part that most people don't realize. The right man doesn't wait for a label to start acting like a partner. He doesn't need to be your boyfriend before he's emotionally reliable. He doesn't need a status update to respect your time. He's not waiting for exclusivity to treat you like you matter. He's already operating on that level, not because he has to, but because he wants to. You can feel the difference. There's no adrenaline rush from sudden attention followed by a crash of silence. There's no emotional roller coaster, no mixed signals. He's not breadcrumbing you with just enough to keep you hanging on. He's actually present. He doesn't just reach out when he wants something. He's there on ordinary days, in quiet moments, in the spaces in between. And this is where it really counts, because the period before the label reveals who someone truly is. It's the part where there's no pressure, no commitment, no expectations. And that's where a man shows you his real character. Anyone can act invested once there are rules and consequences. But it takes a certain kind of man to be consistent when he doesn't have to be. That's not strategy. That's substance. His actions aren't a tactic to get you to commit faster. He's not love, bombing you in hopes you'll choose him before you're ready. He's simply showing up again and again because he's clear on what he wants and he respects where you are. His consistency isn't performative. It's not flashy, it's subtle, but it's unwavering. It's the kind that builds trust without needing a spotlight on it. And it's worth noticing something else. He's consistent without being controlling. He's not using his reliability to make you feel indebted. He's not pressuring you to hurry up and decide. He's not throwing in your face how good he's been. That's not real consistency. That's manipulation. The right kind of consistency is quiet strength. It's effort without ego. It's presence without pressure. What this tells you is that he's not just available. He's ready, emotionally, mentally, relationally. He's not in this to win points or check boxes. He's not asking, what can I get from her? He's asking, how can I build something real, with or without a title right now? Because he knows that labels are easy to say and hard to live up to. He's not chasing a label, he's creating a foundation. The title will come, and when it does, it'll mean something because the behavior already matched it long before you said the words out loud. There's something incredibly powerful about being heard. Not advised, not redirected, not interrupted with here's what you should do, just heard. No one really teaches us that kind of listening. Most people grow up learning how to respond, how to offer solutions, how to jump into action mode the second someone expresses a problem. But when a man is truly present with you, when he's actually waiting for you, he knows how to do something that sounds simple but is actually rare. He listens without trying to fix everything. It doesn't mean he's passive. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. In fact, it's the opposite. It means he cares enough not to make your experience about his need to be useful, because some things don't need fixing. Some emotions don't need solving. Sometimes all you're looking for is someone to sit beside you in your storm and say, I get it. I'm here. No shortcuts, no lectures, no pressure to move on. You'll notice it in the way he holds space for your feelings. You might be venting about your work, your family, your fears. The way he responds isn't, well, just quit, or don't let it get to you, or you're overthinking. Instead, he leans in sometimes literally, sometimes emotionally, and he listens like it matters. Because it does matter to you, so it matters to him. This is where a different kind of strength shows up. Not the loud alpha kind, not the I'll take care of it kind, but the kind that stays steady when you're unraveling a little. The kind that doesn't feel the need to step in and fix you. He trusts you to be capable. He trusts you to find your way, but he also understands that being strong doesn't mean being alone. And so, he's simply there without crowding your clarity. This kind of listening is rare because it takes ego out of the equation. When he's not trying to impress you with answers, when he's not looking for credit or applause for his support, he's showing you something bigger. He sees you as whole. Even in your messy moments, even when you don't have your emotions tied up with a bow, even when you're unsure, emotional, reactive, or drained, he doesn't shrink back or try to fix you so he can feel comfortable again. He stays right there with you. And the reason this is so important is because so many people think that listening is about having the right response. But someone who's genuinely waiting for you understands that the point isn't always to respond. The point is to understand, to reflect, to offer the kind of safety that says, you don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. That kind of listening builds intimacy in a way that fixing never can. Because advice creates distance, it sets up a dynamic where one person is the expert and the other is the problem. But presence, real presence, levels the playing field. It's two people being human together. It's not about power. It's about connection. He doesn't rush your process. He doesn't change the subject when things get uncomfortable. He doesn't jump to defend himself when your emotions brush up against his behavior. He listens even when it's inconvenient, even when he doesn't fully understand yet, even when he knows he could offer a solution, but instead he chooses to give you space to breathe, to speak, to feel without being redirected. And it's not that he'll never offer help. It's that he waits until you ask. He respects that your feelings are not a puzzle to solve. They're a window into who you are. He doesn't listen so he can get his turn to speak. He listens so you feel less alone. He listens not to fix your emotions, but to walk through them with you. And in doing that, he becomes someone you can trust. Not just when things are good, but when you're still figuring things out. One of the most confusing dynamics in dating is when someone seems interested but distant, present but not quite involved, affectionate but unavailable. It creates this emotional tug-of-war where you're constantly wondering if you're being pursued or just tolerated. But when a man is truly waiting for you, when his intentions are aligned with real connection, he does something that's both subtle and incredibly meaningful. He stays close to your world, but he respects your path. That balance is rare. Most people either lean in too hard or hang back completely. They want to be involved in your life right away, or they don't want to engage unless it's all on their terms. But someone who's emotionally secure doesn't operate in extremes. He knows how to be nearby without hovering. He knows how to support without interrupting. He doesn't try to take over your life. He simply makes himself available in your life. You'll notice this in the little things. He pays attention to what matters to you, not just the big goals or accomplishments, but the day-to-day stuff. Your early morning gym class, your meetings, your family dinner on Sundays. Not because he's trying to control your schedule, but because he wants to understand it. He's not trying to find ways to insert himself into every corner of your routine. He's just paying attention, showing respect for the rhythm of your life. And more importantly, he doesn't compete with your purpose. He doesn't view your ambition, your dreams, or your independence as a threat. He doesn't try to slow you down or redirect you so you can fit more neatly into his life. Instead, he stands near, by solid, supportive, patient. Not demanding more of you than you're ready to give. Not withdrawing just because he doesn't have front row access to your every thought or decision. This kind of man isn't waiting for you to revolve your world around him. He's waiting for alignment, not control. He's aware that you're not standing still. You're evolving. You're chasing something or recovering from something, or in the middle of a chapter you're still trying to make sense of. And he doesn't try to speed that up. He doesn't ask you to choose between love and growth. He stays close enough to remind you that connection is possible, even in transition. There's a kind of maturity in this that speaks volumes. Because the easiest thing to do when someone isn't ready, yet is to walk away or get frustrated. But a man who's truly connected to you doesn't need to force a pace you're not walking yet. He trusts that if he remains steady, if he continues to show up without pressure, then you'll meet him when it's right, not because he pushed for it, but because he earned it. He knows the difference between proximity and possession. Just because he's close doesn't mean he's trying to control, and just because he gives you freedom doesn't mean he's drifting away. He might not be calling for hours every night or trying to monopolize your weekends, but when you look around, he's there. Quietly invested, available, not invasive, curious, not controlling. He's not in your face, demanding answers. He's not trying to define your path for you, but when something important happens, he shows up. When you need a sounding board, he listens. When you want to share a win, he celebrates without making it about himself. He moves through your world like someone who belongs, not because he took over, but because he was invited in, slowly, through trust. And what makes that presence even more meaningful is the fact that it's patient. He doesn't ask, when will you be ready? He asks, how can I support you while you're on your way? He's not looking for shortcuts to closeness. He's building a kind of intimacy that isn't based on access, but on alignment. He knows that when two people are meant to meet fully, it won't require force, it'll require respect and timing and someone who can be near by without needing to lead the way for you. There's something profoundly attractive about someone who sees your life as it is and doesn't try to rearrange it to fit their own comfort. Someone who doesn't feel the need to control your direction, yet somehow always finds a way to remain near. A man who's truly waiting for you doesn't stand at the finish line asking when you'll arrive. He walks parallel, just outside the edges of your world, steady, interested, patient, not passive, not absent, not forceful. There's a difference between chasing someone and staying near them. The first is desperate, the second is deliberate. When a man respects your path, he doesn't compete with your purpose. He doesn't feel threatened by your drive or confused by your independence. He understands that what you're building in your life, whether it's your career, your healing, your identity, your next chapter, matters. And instead of interrupting that with demands for attention, he becomes someone who complements the journey without trying to speed it up. You'll know him by the way he makes space without creating distance. He doesn't need to insert himself into every scene of your life to feel close to you. He knows that presence doesn't always mean proximity. Sometimes it means showing up when it counts and stepping back when you need room to breathe. He doesn't ask you to choose between your path and your connection. He's the one who supports both. He doesn't treat your path like an inconvenience or a detour. He doesn't take it personally when you're focused on your own growth, or when you don't respond instantly, or when your energy is going elsewhere for a while. He's not threatened by the fact that you have a life beyond him. He's drawn to it. Because a man who's truly waiting for you is waiting for you, not a version of you that gives up her world to enter his. And it's not just about emotional support. It's also about pace. He doesn't try to rush what's not ready. He doesn't pressure you into defining things before you've even found your own clarity. He's not constantly asking, "What are we?" or "Where is this going?" He may be ready for more, but he doesn't need to force it. He knows that connection isn't proven in pressure, it's revealed in how two people move toward each other naturally, willingly, and without fear. And he stays close not because he's waiting for you to make up your mind, but because he genuinely values who you are. He watches not from a distance of detachment, but from a place of quiet commitment. He sees what you're building, and instead of stepping in to redirect it, he honors it. He might offer help, but he doesn't demand a role. He might express his feelings, but he doesn't expect you to reciprocate on his timeline. What makes this powerful is that you never feel like you're disappointing him just by needing time. He's not clock watching. He's not measuring your value by how quickly you give him access. He finds connection in the long game, in the slow build, in the trust that's earned rather than extracted. You don't feel like you're being pursued just so he can win you. You feel like you're being seen without being rushed. This kind of man doesn't need to be at the center of your world to feel connected to you. He just wants to be near it, near enough to support you, near enough to understand you, near enough that when the time is right, he doesn't have to ask to be let in. He'll already have been there in the background, in the quiet corners, not inserting himself, but staying consistent, attentive, emotionally present without needing to dominate the space you're in. He finds joy in watching you grow, even if that growth isn't moving directly toward him. He doesn't need to own your time to feel significant. He doesn't need to be your priority every day to believe in what's possible. He doesn't leave just because the story hasn't reached its next chapter yet. He stays close enough to matter, but respectful enough not to interfere with what you're still becoming, who you're still uncovering, where you're still going with or without certainty.